Hey, everybody, welcome in, welcome in. Let me change my view here. There we go. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're gonna get started in just a couple of minutes. If you could, for me, please just drop in the chat where you are tuning in from. Where are you tuning in from? That way we can get to know each other. I'm gonna get started at 3:03. I just chose a random time. I'm gonna get started at 3:03 because I want to respect everybody's time. I said this will only be for an hour from 3 to 4, and it's Friday. I know y'all probably got some places to be, some kids to pick up, because I'm going to pick up my kids after this. So I'm gonna be a good steward of my time today. New Jersey. Philly moving to Georgia in June, and I can't wait. Oh, that's an exciting time to move here. A lot of people will be like, don't you stop moving here because the traffic is really bad. The traffic is bad. But there's so many events that happen in Atlanta over the summer. I mean, it is crazy. There's something every single weekend. There's always something to do for free with the kids. There's a ton of festivals, museums. Like, it's a really great place to live. Raleigh, Jersey. We got 2 Jersey folks in here. Connecticut. Yeah, I've known a couple of people that have moved here to network, like, for that reason. And my dad always says, because my dad is from New York, but both my mom and my dad are from New York, but my dad's like real New York. Like, he still has New York in him. Y'all know what I mean. If you're from Jersey, you know what I mean. And he always says, if you can make it in Atlanta, you can't make it anywhere else. Because he says it's so easy to make money here, and it's so easy to come up here and have a successful business here. So I guess I get why people are moving here. I guess I get it. I guess I get it. All right, we got one more minute. I'm gonna wait one more minute. I probably should have played a song or something, some intro music. I don't know what I was thinking today. My phone's over on the charger. I'm trying my hardest to get all my water in for the day. All right. Let me know in the chat if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Let me pull up the chat so I can see y'all talking. Okay, cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. For people who are just dropping in later, they'll be able to drop in later. Let me just make sure that, okay, cool. I needed to make sure the meeting room wasn't locked just in case people want to drop in or dropping in a little bit later. But welcome, you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this webinar. How to ensure your business vision is aligned with God's vision. I am super excited to be teaching this because I have waited a long time to start teaching business strategy based on the Bible. It's something that I use every single day in my business. I have 2 coaches. Both coaches also run their business based off of the Bible. And so I've always had a very keen sense to take my direction only from people who are kind of like going in the same direction that I would like to go in. And so I'm excited now to feel a little bit more confident, I guess, right? Because it took me a while to feel confident because not a lot of people exist in a space where they talk about ministry and marketplace, because it is a little bit tainted. So it is a little bit tainted, but we're going to talk about it today. And I did, for the sake of not wanting you guys to be like, where is this stuff coming from? I did actually cite all of the Bible verses that are in alignment with everything I'm going to be teaching today. So feel free to screenshot and go back and look up the verses later in your own time and kind of sit with those things, and feel free to pray about anything that we discussed today. I actually encourage you to, because your walk is your walk, right? Your walk is your walk. So I'm super excited to be here. So let's go ahead and get into this. So my name is Kelly Marie. I am an NLP certified business and life coach. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is the study of how success affects us as individuals and how we process information as individuals, which is super important. And I chose to get that specific certification for my business and life coaching practice because I wanted to get into the psychology of how we think, because a lot of our biggest obstacles always happen in our mind. It's not necessarily that we don't know what to do. It's not that we don't have the strategy or that we don't know, what we're passionate about. It's that we second guess ourselves. We feel shame when we're doing something and people are looking at you like, well, why is she doing that? And who told her that she could, do that? I know her from way back when, and she ain't never been like that. And so all of those obstacles that happen, a lot of those things happen in our mind and in the psychological side of our brain, even as far as how confident we feel and how we show up in online spaces as well as in-person spaces. So I totally get where you're coming from and how you feel. I've been a full-time business owner for a little over 6 years. My 6-year anniversary was March 21st, full-time. So I've worked with over 1,000 clients during that time, and I struggled for a really long time to integrate my business and my faith. Almost the entire 6 years I've been full-time, I was struggling. I want to incorporate my faith. I didn't know I was going to be doing Bible studies on live. I had hosted Bible studies in person, but I just knew that I didn't want to feel like every time I went to work on my business, I was leaving a part of myself out. And that's what it felt like. And so I happen to be somebody who's super vocal, and that's why I do my Bible studies online on social media. But everyone I work with doesn't have to be extroverted in that way. So if you're someone who's like, I want to integrate my faith into my business, but I don't see myself teaching from the Bible specifically, or I don't see myself specifically ministering, this information still works for you. Doesn't matter which side of the spectrum that you fall on. Most of my clients actually need help growing their businesses while staying true to who they really are as God-fearing women. They're not necessarily like teachers of the Bible, right? So helping them do that is my gift, because you want to feel, when you're growing a business, you want to feel like you're showing up as who you really are, unapologetically. You don't want to have to put a filter on, how you feel and what you think and all that kind of stuff, unless it's necessary. But most of the time you don't want to. And so I kind of help my clients get more comfortable in their own skin. I'm teaching this webinar to give you a summary of the successful strategies that I've used to align my business vision with God's vision for me. And I have a couple of signs of how I knew I was in alignment. And you may experience some of these, but there may be some other throughout the teaching today that will help you as well. But I knew I was in alignment when I started getting clients who felt connected to me. Like people would say, I've been really wanting to work with you. Like, this feels right? Like those feelings that you can't really explain, or wow, I just found you yesterday, but I feel like we're meant to work together. And so when people started saying things like that, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be, regardless of the algorithm, because I would post and get like 10 likes, and I would get a client from that post and they would say something like that. And so it was kind of like a little sign for me from God, right? I knew when I started really enjoying every aspect of my business, I didn't feel like I was drained all the time. Every time I sat down to work in my business, I felt a little bit more fulfilled, right? I felt excited, like how I told you guys, I'm excited to teach this class. I also knew I was in alignment when it became easier for me to build a team who understands my vision. And if you've ever built a team, or if you've hired someone to work in your business, whether it's an independent contractor or a part-time, full-time employee, you know how hard it is to lead people, even at work, right? If you've been in a leadership position at work, it's hard to lead people and it's hard to communicate. And so I knew that the place I was taking my business had to be a God place when I just started getting people on my team and people saying, I really want to help you with this, who were like just completely understanding the vision. Like they knew exactly what I needed at exactly the right time. So these were just a few of my signs that I've experienced through the process. And I'm going to share with you guys the process today that I recommend you guys take after struggling with this for so long in my business. I probably should have pulled them up and put them in this class, but I literally have posts from my close friends from like 3-4 years ago, me saying, I wonder how I'm going to incorporate my faith into my business. I wonder if people are going to judge me, like all of that stuff. Like I actually have screenshots and stuff of that. So drop it in the chat for me. What is one thing you want to happen from learning this information? So when you learn this information today, what is one thing that you are looking for to happen in your life or in your business? Drop that in the chat for me. Don't be shy. One thing. Alicia says, build godly confidence within my business decisions. Yes. Vern says, to help others see that God is excellent. Yes. Timbuktu says, confidence that I am headed in the right direction. Yes. Angie says, feel less fearful and trusting God and myself enough that what I am working on is going to work. Ooh, yes. Yeah, that feeling of like, I'm putting all this work into something. Is it really going to happen this time? I know that feeling. Yeah, bring forth more kingdom, confirmation, and keeping God first in everything. Yes. These are all really good answers. All right, so I have broken down today's topic into a 5-step process. It's based on passages from the Bible, my personal experience and client work. So I had to put this disclaimer in here. Yes, I've listed the references from the Bible for you to read. I encourage you to read them for yourself as well. And you know what, before we get started, I actually said this on live because I got on live before I came here. It's important for you to go read them yourself because one of the ways that God communicates with us is through his word. And so I've read these verses and this is the process that I've extracted from these verses. But if you go read these verses, he may say something different to you because he may not say what's like for you. He's going to say it to you, right? He may not say it to me. So I really, really mean it when I say, please screenshot this and go read these verses. So step 1 is being willing to confess your willingness out loud, okay? Openly. So this comes from Revelations 3:20, and it says, here I am, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. So yes, I know just from you being here that you want to build your business in partnership with God, but you have to openly confess that out loud. And yes, God knows your heart, right? But you saying it out loud takes it to another level. And so your first step is to ask God to use you. And if you've done this once is not enough. You have to do it every day, right? It's not enough to just assume that he knows because he does. And vocally confessing it, that you're here to do his will and not your own, puts you in a different category because there are millions and billions of people that pray every single day. The ones that say, I'm ready to do your will, they get put into a separate category, okay? You can do this via prayer, and then you can follow up with action to prove it, because sometimes we'll be like, I did that. Like I said, I'm here to do your will, but then I went on about my business. And, I just did whatever because I didn't know what to do, right? And so you have to follow it up with action, which the rest of this process will help you with that. But I like to pray and confess this every single day as a part of my morning prayer. It keeps me in alignment because it's easy to fall to the flesh. Some disobedience is like, you're intentionally disobeying, but there's also like unintentional disobedience, right? Like you don't know until you know. And so if you don't continuously every day say, keep me in your will, not mine, your will, not mine, your will, not mine, then you could accidentally be going in the wrong direction. It's like asking for directions. That every single day is the start of a new day. You want to make sure you ask for directions every day just to make sure you're still going in the right way, right? You're still going in the right direction. So yeah, it's easy to fall to the flesh. So if you hear me use the word disobedient, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're being, defiant. Like my 2-year-old is defiant. Like she just be like, no, I'm not gonna do it. It doesn't mean you're doing that, but disobedience can show up in other ways too by accident. And so we just have to be more aware. So that's that first step. Be willing and confess your willingness openly. I recommend that as a daily practice. The second step is to create space. Okay, this comes from Psalm 95:7, and it says this: for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture and the sheep of his hand. Today, if ye will hear his voice. So we have to create space in order to hear what he's saying. God desires to speak to us through his word. Just like I said, y'all screenshot go read these verses, and maybe even a little bit before and a little bit after the verse. But when we make time for him daily, not only in prayer, but also reading the Bible, it becomes easier for us to recognize when he's talking to us. Is there anybody in here who's in my 40-day Bible study? I said this before my 40-day Bible study, and I don't think they really got it until they started hearing. Is there anybody in here? Angie said I'm behind. Angie, you got to catch up this weekend. Donna said I am. Shannon's in it. Y'all know what I'm saying. When you show up to Bible study every day in the 40-day, it's like, oh, he been trying to tell me this. I just wasn't listening. My ears were not open, right? But it becomes easier for us to recognize when he's talking to us, when we create the space. Donna said, absolutely. Creating space and opportunity opens your ears. So that looks like you creating a daily spiritual practice. I recommend it being the same time a day, because in the morning kind of makes it easy if you can get up 30 minutes earlier than what you normally get up, because you can do the prayer, right? You can confess open and willingly, and then you could go straight into the word. And having that space where there's no devices, no TV on, people are still sleeping, because in the morning people was trying to get their rest in, that, or even at night, that silence is what you need. Okay, that silence is what you need. That's why when a lot of people fast, they remove all those things, because they need to create space for longer periods of time. The more you're asking for, the more space you're going to need to create in order to hear. Okay, so what you'll find is when you read the Bible every day, even if it's just a little bit, and I saw someone said that they have the book, and so Alicia said she has the book. So even if you go through a study by yourself, it could be any study, right? And read every day, just 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you're going to start to have personal aha moments. And it's going to be easier for you to read in between the lines. So it helps with being able to hear him, but also with being able to identify when the devil is up to his usual tricks. It is easier to see when there's a trap if you can look back in history and see what the traps that other people fell into. So for example, Samson and Delilah. Delilah tricked Samson because she was trying to take him down. Somebody paid her to take him down and figure out what the source of his strength was. And he loved her, and he kept falling for her tricks and falling for her tricks. And then he kept realizing after she tricked him, he was like, wow, you was really trying to take me out. And she was like, yeah, they pay me money. I'm all about the bag, right? And eventually Samson died, or lost all his, well, he didn't die. He lost all his strength, and he kind of self-destructed. But it was because he kept letting his love get ahead of what he couldn't see, which was right in front of his face. So now that I read that story, I know, I'm like, okay, when somebody shows me who they are the first time, I'm going to believe them, because you're not finna Delilah me, okay? You are not about to Delilah me. So yeah, she's about the bag. I explain Bible stories in Ebonics. Um, so he got. But now that I know the story, I know, oh, well, I don't have to fall to the same trick that he fell to. And that was just one story of like one chapter of the entire Bible. And I don't want, not one book, it was just one chapter. And so when you read continuously, you're able to see when the devil is up to his own tricks. Patrice, the Bible study is closed. It's closed. It was a one-time thing. It was 40, I coached for 40 days for free. We're in the middle of it right now. But it was 40 days free coaching. And we're almost on day 20, so we're almost at it. But the snippets you see on my Instagram are from that. So now we've done step 1. We've confessed. We let God know, hey, I see you seeing me, seeing you. I'm ready, right? That's step 1. Then the second thing, listen, I created this nice space for us to have a conversation. This is me moving and letting you know I'm ready, okay? So now it's time for you to start seeking, right? It's time for you to start searching. You'll probably hear something on step 2, but if you don't stop, keep going, because sometimes we have to show him a little bit more proof that we're ready. Because if you've done step 1 before and you weren't ready, and you've done step 2 before and you weren't ready, he moved on to somebody else and he'll come back. And that sounds really harsh, but there are multiple places in the Bible. Now, it's not, the verse is not in here, but there are multiple places in the Bible where God took a blessing away from someone and gave it to somebody else because they were not after his heart. So don't think that he cannot come in and snatch up what you think is yours and give it to somebody else, okay? It happened with, we just hit this point in the Bible study. It happened with Solomon and David. Solomon was king, but he stepped out of line and did something he shouldn't have did. He didn't kill nobody. He didn't break the 10 commandments. He didn't do anything that was like super aggressive, right? But he broke the rules. He broke God's rules, okay? Not the rules. He broke God's rules, which are higher than anybody else's rules. And God said, you know what? You're not king anymore. David's going to be the next king, okay? So you have to, step 3, look back before looking forward. And this is actually a concept that's covered inside of the NLP training that I took specifically more in depth. But it comes from these 3 verses, right? Psalm 23-24 says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. Y'all who think y'all was gonna make the wrong decision, as long as you're doing step 1 and 2, it doesn't matter. You'll never really fall. The Lord's gonna grab you before you hit the ground, okay? That's what that means, Psalm 23-24. Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not onto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths, okay? And then Isaiah 30:21, your ears shall hear a word behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it whenever you turn to the right hand or whenever you turn to the left. So these verses are setting us up for, okay, let's look back. Because if God is always talking to me, if he's always talking to me, but I've been having a hard time hearing, then that means that he's probably talked to me before and I didn't realize it. So let me look back at the clues that he's been leaving me, okay? When you leave God's path, he will redirect you, especially if you're doing step 1 and 2. Closed doors are sometimes a shift. It like shift your passion to new places. Rejection can shift your passion to new places. Who in here has been rejected in business? We can go with this year, right? Because we're in April, January, February, March, April, 4 months. Have you experienced some level of rejection or closed doors, or you thought something was going to happen for you? You're like, yeah, it's going to happen. Then it didn't happen. And you're like, what? What's going on? That's him trying to redirect you. It's important to look back before looking forward. So when we think about how your business has been operating thus far, think back to the times when you were rejected and how that rejection caused you to try something different. You may not have had an immediate blessing, because sometimes it'll be like, oh, I was rejected from such and such job. And then the next day I got a call for a new job that had a higher salary and it was amazing, right? It's not always rejection followed up by immediate blessing, but sometimes it's I didn't get that job. And so I decided to explore different options. And then 3 years later, I'm in a job that I love. Sometimes there is time in between the rejection and the blessing, but you have to take the rejection as redirection. Because some of us been trying to do the same thing for the last 5 years in the same exact way with the same methods and the same strategies, and it's not working. And God's trying to tell you that's not what I have for you. So we have to start to be a little bit more self-aware, and sometimes it's going to hurt. Sometimes you're going to have to let some things go. Okay. When I was in elementary school, I thought I was going to be a basketball player in the NBA. Y'all, I'm 5'3". I had to let it go. Okay. Had to let it go. So looking back includes creating a list of all the things you have accomplished, even when the circumstances didn't add up. Favor is not there, okay? Blessings a lot of times are not logical. And so now let's make this tangible and tactable, because this is a great exercise I want you to do. Screenshot this for me, please. I wish we had time to do it together, but I promised this would only be an hour, so we don't. So screenshot this. And I want you to do this tonight before you get in bed, or after you get in bed. You can do these little columns. You can draw on a piece of paper, or you can do these little columns on your phone. So I want you to have 3 columns. You have a rejection column, a redirection column, and a blessing column, okay? The blessing column may not be related to the rejection and redirection, right? But it's just for us to understand, like, oh, I have been blessed. So in the rejection column, you want to list any time in the past that you have experienced rejection as a business owner. You can include personal rejection as well, because who you are as a person plays a really big factor in your success as a business owner. That's why sometimes you'll meet people who have less knowledge than you, or don't have the education that you have, or don't have the experience level that you have, and they make more money than you, because it's about who you are, not what you know, not who you know, because you can know the right person, but if you're not the right person, that person will not bring your name up, okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about, because sometimes somebody will bring your name up and you're like, there's no way you recommended me. I'm not even qualified. But they're like, but I like you, your personality. You have all, and they start listing all these things about who you are instead of what you know. Okay, so in that rejection, list any time in the past that you have experienced rejection as a business owner, or this can include personal rejection as well. Then I want you, in the next column, the redirection column, I want you to write, as a result of this rejection. So each of those that you list, as a result of this rejection, what did you do instead? So where did you go after, directly after you experienced this redirection? How did business or life change for you? List that change, even if it doesn't feel like a blessing. Not all redirection is pleasurable. Sometimes a redirection can cause you to go into the wilderness. God redirected Moses. He went into the wilderness with a whole bunch of people following him for 40 years. He was probably like, this is not what I signed up for. And sometimes you're going to feel like this is not what I signed up for. But the wilderness is just a state of preparedness. Okay. He's preparing you. He's preparing you. So that's why I said sometimes a blessing can be like way far off. But if we are able to catalog, these are all my rejections, looking backwards, this is how it's redirected, then we can start to draw lines, especially when it's written down. Then we can start to draw lines and be like, oh, okay. And it starts to reveal things. And when those things are revealed, it's like, he's been talking to me. My ears were closed. That's what it feels like. It's like I put a Q-tip in my ear and was like, wow, I can hear everything now. I can hear everything. Okay. Let me read some of these comments. Let's say Donna said, yes, I did that yesterday and I thought about the lesson. And later that day, God gave me a revelation about me. Alicia says, I literally was telling my friends that several days ago, I feel like I failed a test or a lesson and missed out what God had told me I should receive in this season. It happens sometimes. It happens. For y'all that have never read through the entire Bible, this is the study that the group is going through. You can screenshot this too if you want to go through it. You can. It's called 4 Days Through the Bible. That's the one that Donna's saying. I got these revelations. This one's good. I have a lot. I got a whole stack of them here, different ones, but that's a good one to start with. So I want you guys to do this exercise. Did everybody screenshot this? Drop me a yes in the chat if you got a screenshot of this to do tonight when the kids are asleep, or maybe early tomorrow morning, just when you can clear your head. I like to do stuff like this at night, because when I get it all out on paper, I just feel so at peace and I sleep so good at night. Like, I'm not worried about nothing. This is what it means to give it to God and go to sleep. It's doing stuff like this, exercises like this. I should really put these into a book, but exercises like this will make it a lot easier for you to do that if you deal with anxiety or insomnia. All right, so step 4, let's go back and recap. So we confessed in step 1, willingness and open. I am here for you. Do your thing with me. Use me as a tool. Step 2, we created that space. I'm going to show up every single day. I'm going to show up every single day and hope that you talk to me every single day. Then step 3, I'm going to look back before looking forward. So let's use actual tangible exercises to start drawing some lines and getting these puzzle pieces together to figure out how to get into alignment. Like, what is your vision of where my business is supposed to go? That's what this is going to start to reveal. What does God want me to do based off of this evidence I have of what's happened to me in the past? And is that similar to or in alignment with the vision that I have for my business? Here's step 4. This is going to be the hardest step for a lot of us. Hone in on your fear. Hone in on your fear, okay? It comes from these 3 verses, 2 Timothy 1-7. I see that question, Alicia. I'm going to answer in just a second. For 2 Timothy 1-7, for the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. I love this verse. My mom used to tell me this verse all the time because I used to think that monsters was in my closet and all kinds of stuff. So she would repeat this verse to me. And so I know that one pretty well. Isaiah 41:10 says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Okay. And then Psalm 76, 7-8 says, you alone are to be feared. This is talking about God. God alone is to be feared. Who can stand before you when you are angry? From heaven you pronounce judgment, and the land feared and was quiet. Okay. Here's what we need to know about fear. God wants us to fear him and no one or nothing else. A lot of times, if you look back into the Bible, you'll see that when people start to fear things other than God or fear people other than God, they make hasty decisions. And that's fear still does that thing to us today, because fear is such a strong emotion. Now, I'm not talking about fear like you're standing on the edge of the building with no harness and you're going to jump off. Not that type of fear. I'm talking about like fear of making decisions, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of bringing shame, fear of looking dumb. A lot of people don't ask questions because they fear that people are going to view them as not intelligent, and that holds them back from getting the information they need to move forward, right? Fear is a strong emotion, and the devil uses fear to try and keep us away from God and out of alignment, okay? On the opposite side of the spectrum, so we have fear on one side of the emotional spectrum. On the opposite side, we have passion. And passion is often a seed that God plants in us to keep us motivated and focused. Sometimes passion and fear can come together. It's like a thin line, because that seed that's planted in you, the devil knows how powerful that is. And so he comes in with the fear and is like, if I make her feel like she's just right outside her comfort zone, she won't do it. She won't do it, because he knows he can't stop you from your blessing, but he can control your mind, okay? Multi-passionate. Do I have any people in here who are multi-passionate? Because sometimes that causes a fear. Like, what if I choose the wrong business? Or what if I choose the wrong niche? Like that type of thing, right? So multi-passionate is a sign that there's a piece of each of your passions that is needed to fulfill the calling God has on your life. So passion, God uses as that tool of motivation and that tool to keep us focused. But you need a lot of different skills in order to step into your calling. And so you may have a little sprinkle of passion over here doing this, a little sprinkle of passion over there doing that. And you need skills from each of those passions to fulfill the calling. So I would do this right now. I should have put this in here. This should go in a book. Anyways, I'm going to say that a million times because there are specific exercises that I have for these different things. But you should write down all the things that you're passionate about and the skills that you've developed by being passionate about those things. If you've done something about it. Now, if you're passionate about different things, and you haven't actually like went out and tried them. So let's say passionate about art, but I've never taken an art class. Go take an art class because you need to be able to extract what skills am I using in this passion. And that's going to give you another piece of the puzzle. Like, okay, yes, I'm meant to be a business coach, but I'm also passionate about, I went to my art class, right? Let's say I go to my art class. I'm passionate about details, right? I'm passionate about details in art. Maybe I'm passionate. I found out that I'm passionate about talking to people because when I went to art class, there was a bunch of strangers there and I talked to everybody. Those are your skill sets that play into your business and they play into developing your business and who you are and who you're not. Because you may be like, I'm passionate about art. And then you go take an art class and you're like, I'm not really feeling this like I was feeling it, before I took it. And that's okay too, right? But you have to experience those things in order to be able to separate and pull the skill set out, okay? God's developing you over time to prepare you for where you have been, where you are going, and where you will go. So when you look back, you're gonna see where you have been and the skills you developed in those rejections and that redirection. Then you're gonna look at where am I trying to go and how can I use these skills that God has shown me that I have, how can I use these skills to get to where I'm going in my business, keeping in mind that he may one day in my Bible study tell me, go a different direction. You got to be willing and open, right? He may tell me to go a different direction, but I'm going to take these skills with me. You need all those skills, right? So drop in the chat right now. What is it that you have a burning passion to do in your business that brings you fear or that brings you fear of rejection? Because we all have something where it's like, I really want to do this thing in my business for a long time, or I really want to open up this other business or take my business in a different direction or talk to a different person, but I'm scared to do that. So drop what that is in the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to look at this question. Alicia says, how do you bounce back and get back on track? I asked for forgiveness, but still have guilt. Forgiveness is a process. It is a process. Even after you ask for it, it is a long process. What I recommend doing, aside from if you're going to do your prayer, your daily prayer every day, get this book right here. I told you I got a stack of books on my desk. Get this book. It's called Forgiving What You Can't Forget. It's a Bible study specifically for forgiveness. So not only are you praying, but you're also walking through forgiveness and what God says about forgiveness in the Bible. And this is going to give you the reassurance you need to let go of that guilt. Okay. So this is more of like a structured tool, but get this book. It's called Forgiving What You Can't Forget. That's a really good guide. And why do I have it on my desk? Because I know forgiveness is a process. It is a process. Yeah, and it may help to talk that out, right? Like giving yourself grace and to forgive yourself is sometimes hard. Now, forgiving other people, I think it's hard because we feel like if we forgive them, then they got off scotch-free and they're never going to learn their lesson, right? We feel like if I let them off, then they're gonna go and do that to somebody else, and I'm gonna feel responsible that I didn't stop them, right? I'm going like this because I be having an attitude sometimes, but we have to forgive other people because it's not our responsibility to make sure that they learn their lesson. That's not our job. So we can't carry that. When it comes to forgiving yourself, it's important to understand that everything that happens to you is happening to develop you. There's something there, a lesson there that was there to learn. And once you've learned that lesson, you have to let it go because forgiveness is a blessing blocker. It will stop you. It will stop you from getting to where you're trying to go. It's like carrying like baggage, right? It feels heavy. It feels like it's a weighing down, and it takes you a lot longer to get where you want to go. But definitely pray about it. I'm a tangible person. Like I teach spiritual, right? But I'm really about tangible tools because it helps you get the process started. You may not even need to get through the whole study, right? But it helps you get that process started. Angie says, yep, I started several things that never finished or launched, but this one, I'm sticking to it. Jennifer said, oh, Jennifer's giving you some words of encouragement. Thank you for that. Zulika, I hope I'm saying that right. Talk about mental health to help others. Yes. Angie says, releasing my first paid product, doubting myself on the pricing if the information is even good enough to ask people to pay me for, although I have people that have been asking me about it. Timbuktu said, estate planning and starting a specific service outside of my normal business. Donna said, public speaking and ministering about my testimony. Donna, somebody needs your testimony. Nicole, sharing how I process my grief through crafting with others and doubling down on a niche for profitable business, but I have imposter syndrome. Yeah, imposter syndrome is like super common. But it comes from that root of fear. Like, what if people look at me and they're like, she thinks she's an expert? She's not an expert. But people are so much in their own head that they don't like they are so consumed with, they probably have imposter syndrome too, but they're so consumed with what's going on the inside of them that it's hard for them to even have time to do that, right? All right, so step 5, for everything you guys just listed in the chat, you have to take this step, right? Who do you have to be? Who do you have to be in order to do those things that you just dropped in the chat fearlessly? And you could drop it in the chat right now. Describe her. Like, who is that person that has to be the one who can confidently share her process, how she processes her grief through crafting, you know? Who is that woman who speaks publicly and ministers about their testimony? What is she like? Who is that woman who does the estate planning and starts specific businesses outside of her normal business? Who's that woman who releases that paid products? You have to write a description for who that woman is. Because if that's the burning passion inside of you that's inciting fear, that is going to be one of your guiding lines for getting into that alignment. And so we have 4 verses from the Bible about that, right? Because a lot of people say, well, who do I have to be? Like, I have to change. I have to be a new person. Yes. And it's not a bad thing, like how a lot of our cultures make it seem like it's bad when you change. You're supposed to change. You're supposed to grow. In Genesis 17:5, it says, no longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I made you a father of a multitude of nations. In Genesis 32:28, it says, then he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed. Isaiah 62:2 says, the nations shall see your righteousness and all the kings your glory, and you shall be called by a new name that the mouth of the Lord will give. And in John 1:42, it says, he brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, you are Simon, the son of John, but you shall be called Cephas, which means Peter, okay? So in the Bible, in all of these 4 verses, we see God changing the names of people more than a few times when they've stepped into their God calling. Abram was changed to Abraham. Sarai was changed to Sarah. Simon to Peter. Saul to Paul, and a lot of others, right? These name changes signify a point of transition where each of these people left their old self behind and became someone new. For what God is calling you to do, in order to get your business vision into alignment with God's vision, you have to become someone new, okay? And steps 1 through 4 is going to get you all the way there, almost there, right? And 5, you have to make the decision, I'm have to let some things go. Who I used to be is not who I'm about to be, because that person is scared and I'm not scared, right? So we see that in our society. People say, you're changed, you're different. Yeah, I'm being called to do something that the old me could never do, right? You have to evolve into that new person. They've got new behaviors. They have a new outlook on life. They use new strategies. And you see, with some of these stories, God came to them and said, this is what I have for you. And it wasn't until that person said, I believe you, I have faith that this is going to happen, that their name was changed. Some of them, like Saul to Paul, he had to be blind before he decided to step into the faith. Don't take it that far. Like, don't have somebody blind you in order for you to have some faith. Decide who it is. Decide who that woman is that can fearlessly do the things that you know you are being called to do. Because a lot of y'all, before you even came to this class, you knew. You already knew. You were like, I think he's calling me to do this, but I'm not sure. He's definitely calling you to do that. You're second guessing it. You got to step your faith up a little bit. You knew. You're a little scared, but that's okay, because some of this stuff is scary. Like he literally told Abraham, you're going to be a father of many nations. All these stars are about to be all your kids. And he was 100. And he was like, I'm too old for that. Like, what do you mean? So sometimes it sounds crazy. A blind man getting his vision back, it sounds crazy. The vision that you've been given and the passion that's placed inside of you, it's not going to make human sense, because only he knows the plans that he has for us. We just happen to have an insight into the vision. That passion is kind of like, I think I'm supposed to be going this way. Trust it, believe it. It's going to get clearer when you do 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's going to get clear. But right now it's like, this is a murky vision. It feels good, but it don't really make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So the things that the current you is afraid to do, the new you is fearless to do those same things. She's a different girl, okay? Donna said she's a confident woman in God who is not ashamed of telling her testimony, whom God brought her through, realizing that she has overcome. Timbuktu Ali says she is a disciplined woman. Yes, she's about her business. Jennifer says she's getting past, you're getting past that imposter syndrome. Yeah. It helps to write down a description, because then you have it like in your hand, right? It's not like I'm just trying this every day and I'm hoping that it goes well and we're just going to pray about it and leave it up to God. I'm going to write it down and I'm going to have it in my hand. And so when I get into a situation where I feel a little bit scared or a little bit uneasy, or I'm not sure where to go, I'm going to take that piece of paper out and I'm going to say, this is the woman I am going to be today. This is the woman I'm going to be today. Okay, so let's recap. We got 10 minutes left. 1, be willing and confess your willingness openly. 2, create that space. That's your daily Bible study, daily quiet time, daily prayer, 15, 20 minutes, what I recommend starting with. If you make it a bigger commitment than that, it may be hard to keep it at first. Step 3, you want to look back before looking forward. That's that rejection, redirection, blessing exercise. Step 4, you want to hone in on your fear. Write down what it is that you have a passion to do, but it's causing you to be a little fearful. It's causing you to be fear of success, fear of failure, fear of rejection. And then 5, who do you have to be? What is the description of that woman? You can only course correct. This is important. You can only course correct if you are actually moving. Okay, so this 5-step process only works if you are actively moving, meaning you have to start making decisions. Any decisions that you've been holding off today, somebody here has been holding off on a decision. And if it's you, you got to make the decision today. I don't care if it's small, I don't care if it's big, I don't really know. I didn't get that far. All I got is that you have to start making decisions. Do not be scared. Don't let the fear of making the wrong decision or the fear of making the decision that may get you a little bit, but it's not going to get you a lot. Don't let that stop you from making the decision, okay? You can only correct your course if you're actually moving. GPS only works if you're actually moving. I like to call GPS the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit will be in your ear like, no, 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 go this way. No, 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 don't do that. This doesn't sound right. They said this, but I don't really think that's what they meant. That's the Holy Spirit, your level of discernment, trying to warn you to run the other way. We also call them red flags. Red flag, red flag. That's the Holy Spirit trying to save you, okay? Listen to the red flags. I can think of more than enough situations where I did not listen to the red flags and I got myself into some stuff and I'm like, why am I here? Oh, it's my fault. I did not listen to my GPS, right? My internal GPS, the Holy Spirit. So it only works though if you're actually moving. It's like if I was to get in the car, I gave this metaphor on live earlier too. If I was to get in the car to drive to Miami, I live in Atlanta, I could get there, right? If I kept moving, even if I took a wrong turn, even if I missed the highway exit, even if I stopped to get something to eat or stopped at a hotel to sleep overnight, I could still get there as long as I keep getting in the car, turning it on, and keep driving. That's you making decisions. So in order to do that while you're completing steps 1 through 5 continuously, you're going to need support, accountability, and a place where you can stay motivated to keep moving. Because if you're by yourself, it is going to be difficult. You will see, just based off of history and the Bible, there's not a lot that God told people to do alone. Some things, yes, but a lot of it, no. And most of the time it was like, here's, I'm going to send you a prophet, or I'm going to send you a friend, or I'm going to send a messenger that's going to come give you a message to help you keep moving, whatever it may be, right? The help comes in different forms. But this process 1 through 5 is continuous. Okay. So it's not, I did 1 through 5. Now what are we doing? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that way, when you're making decision, you keep getting that correction. You keep getting that updated GPS. Oh, there's traffic. Let's go this way. Oh, there's an accident. Let's go this way. Oh, this is not a road yet. It said it was a road, but it's in construction right now. It's not open. Go this way, right? But you have to keep moving. Are y'all with me? So here's how I can support you. Now, I would be doing y'all a disservice if I did not tell you how I can support you. You can leave now. If you believe you can do this on your own, you are welcome to leave the chat, right? You're welcome to leave the chat. But this next couple of slides, I'm going to tell you about how I can support you if you're ready to take the next level. So this is only for you if you are serious about aligning your business vision with God's vision and you want support to confidently move forward, because this is a continuous process, okay? So this is only for you if you're like, okay, I get the steps, I still need some help because just my first time doing this, or I tried to do this before and it didn't really work out. Sometimes I'm like, I'm the first person in line. Like, I need support because I don't have time to be making a whole lot of mistakes. I got kids, I got bills. They're babies, but they're going to be ready to go to college one day or go to trade school or start their own business. And I want to make sure I have something for them. Okay. I want to make sure I have land for them or whatever it may be. So here's the next step. If you're ready to take the next step, it's called Rooted. It is my 2-week group coaching program. I call it Rooted for a reason. First, it didn't have a name. I was just saying, this is my 2-week group coaching program. I had a whole curriculum and everything. This is my 2-week group coaching program, whatever. And maybe 2 days ago, the name came to me. It's Rooted. That's the name of it. Okay, so it comes from Jeremiah 17:8. Everything is biblically based. Because I'm not taking no chances making a decision without reading in my Bible first. So it says, he is like a tree planted by water that sends out its roots by the stream and does not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green. This is it right here. It is not anxious in the year of drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit. This is not your regular tree, okay? God is not your regular tree where it's fall and the leaves fall off and they wither. And if it goes through a drought, the tree is going to die and it's not going to come back. This is not your regular tree, okay? It does not fear when the heat comes. The leaves remain green. It's not anxious in the year of drought, which I think is what we're about to go into, is a year of drought. It does not cease to bear fruit. It is a different type of tree. And so everything that I'm teaching during this 2 weeks inside of Rooted is because these are the foundations that you need in order to build your business like a tree planted by water, okay? So there's 4 phases to this 2-week group coaching program. And I'm going to show you guys the curriculum right now. Then we'll talk about the investment, and then we'll do open question and answer. You can drop questions in the chat too. So phase 1, okay, is 14 days straight. Phase 1, day 1, we're going to talk about incorporating prayer, fasting, and studying into your business strategy. So what it looks like to have that daily study. My favorite Bible study books. I'll give you guys access to the 40 days because the 40 days ends. Well, the 40 days is going to end when this ends, but you'll have access to, we'll probably be on like day 33. So you'll get access to all of that. If you want to go through that and rewatch those pre-recorded videos, you can. So incorporating prayer, fasting, and study. I also have a couple of Bible study methods that work for different people in different times, depending on how much time you have. And then day 2, we're going to do an implementation and co-working session. So we'll do some studying together. This group coaching is unique from the other ones I've done, not only because it has the biblical strategies intertwined with it, but also because I've built in the execution piece. So some of our live meetings are implementation meeting. We'll get on live. I'll ask each person, what are you doing for today during our 45 minutes of implementation? You'll tell me, and then I'll start the music. It'll be like probably some opera, orchestra, maybe some gospel music, but something that you can still work with the music on, and you'll go to work. And I'll be right there live in the chat. I'm not going to be doing nothing else. I'm not going to work on anything. I'm going to be there live in the chat for questions, roadblocks, and you guys know I can answer anything tech-wise, strategy-wise, copywriting-wise, because I have a lot of different skills because I was multi-passionate, and I'm using all those skills as a coach now. So we'll have an implementation and co-working session based off of the day 1 strategy. Then day 3, we'll talk about how to deal with rejection in business, whether it be collaborations, clients not enrolling, etc. And day 4, we'll do an implementation and co-working session. So that first phase is about keeping God at the center of your business. The next phase, phase 2, is about generating more leads. So now that you're centered, let's talk about bringing in more possible customers and more possible leads, okay? All these methods work, even if you have a product-based business, because I know some people have product-based. So these work for that as well. So day 5, we'll talk about leveraging quizzes to grow your email list, because quizzes are a really great way to organically get people to join your list. And the more people you join on your list, the bigger your launches are going to be. The more people are going to build a relationship with you, it increases your sales, okay? So we'll talk about that in day 5. In day 6, we'll do an implementation and co-working session where you'll start to build out your quiz. On day 7, we'll talk about Facebook ads, best practices for growing your email list when you want to spend less time on social media. Who wants to spend less time on social media? Just drop me an emoji or something in the chat. I like to create content. That's why I'm on social media almost every single day. But most of the content you see from me was created, like pre-created. So I don't have to stand up, like be on social media all day. I read Jennifer's comment that said, I cannot stand social media. But when you get your ads right, you don't have to be on social media. You can like have 1 recording day a month and then just run ads and have stuff scheduled, right? So we'll talk about the best practices. I'm going to show you guys how to set up a Facebook ad, how to niche down your audience for Facebook ads to get the best result, how much money to spend. You can spend as little as $5 a day, or you don't even have to keep it on every day. You could do it just for certain like campaign links. So maybe a week at a time, then turn it off for a couple weeks and turn it back on. But we'll talk about that. And then day 8, we'll do implementation and co-working sessions. So on day 8, you're going to be building a Facebook ad, and I'm going to be right there live with you to answer any questions you have, any snags, anything like that. How to install your Facebook pixel on your website. We'll be going over all that on that day. And then phase 3 is about converting your leads. So you got God at the center in phase 1. And phase 2, you're generating leads, your email list is growing. Now it's phase 3. Okay, well, how am I supposed to be converting these people? Because they're downloading my freebie, but they're not buying. Okay, so we'll talk about that on day 3. Okay, so follow-up strategies for identifying and converting leads. So day 9, follow-up strategies for identifying and converting leads. And then on day 10, we'll have an implementation and co-working day. So you'll take that time to actually follow up with the leads, working your email list, segmenting your email list. And phase 4 will be talking about doing less work. So now we got some type of a system set up, right? Like we know what we're doing to stay aligned and to keep our business vision aligned with God's vision. And then we have a way that we're generating leads consistently. Now we have a way to convert these leads. Let's look at scaling back on some work hours, because I don't want to be working 40 hours a week. I don't think we were designed to be working 40 hours a week. So day 11, we'll talk about how to measure your profitability using ClickUp. So how to increase your revenue without working more hours. Bye, Timbuktu. I'll see you in the group coaching. She's already enrolled. In day 12, we'll do implementation and co-working session. On day 13, we'll talk about how to identify what activities you should outsource to increase cash flow and do less work, and like how to hire team members without having to pay a ton of money. And then day 14, we'll do implementation and co-working session where you will map out what it is that you want to outsource. Sometimes it's business, sometimes it's personal, right? So we'll talk about that. So the value for Rooted is $4,000. If I went through each of these phases as individual classes and gave this support, the base amount would be $1,000 for each phase. So it's valued at $4,000, but it's not that much, and there's a reason why, okay? The investment for Rooted is only $250. There's a payment plan. You could split it up into 2 equal halves of $125. Here's why. This coaching opportunity is not about the investment, because I could charge $4,000 for it. And I've had a program that was $4,000 and it was great, right? It was Systems and Sales Academy. If you've been following me, you've probably seen it. And people made a ton of money. But this program is a test of time and faith, right? Are you willing to prioritize growing your business in partnership with God? Because yes, we're going through this 2-week program and there is a curriculum, but there's also incorporating that step 1 through 5. And so this is more of a investment of your time and an investment of your faith and your focus than it is of your money, which is why it doesn't cost that much. So here's the transparency in this, right? I decided to offer this program because it covers the building blocks for my 6-month inner circle. I just released a new 6-month inner circle because I got rid of all of my other business offers that did not have anything to do, that didn't teach anything biblical, right? So working with a faith-based coach is about more than can I afford it. It's not about can I afford a 6-month offer. I could get on social media today and sell a 6-month offer. Somebody would probably enroll, right? But building your business in partnership with God is going to call you to be more consistent. It's going to call you to be more intentional, and it's going to cause you to be more self-aware, right? He's preparing you for something. And so this is a test of, are you ready to get prepared? Like, are you ready to go into this cycle of preparation for what I'm doing? And so to me, the investment was like, it's not about the money. I am building a community, and I need to know that we are ready to stand shoulder to shoulder. And so that's why the investment is only $250. Enrollment is open. The choice is ultimately yours. I'm not going to force anybody to buy anything, especially not this, right? Because you have to really want it. but enrollment is open, and I'm gonna drop that link in the chat. Yes, it will help a non-product business. I've actually had both. I don't know if you guys know that. I have a service-based business right now. I also have an agency. I just dropped that link in the chat. I also have an agency. But I've owned a product-based business before. And so everything that I'm going to be teaching, it works for all three of those business styles. I've done online courses before where it was self-study. It worked for that as well. So let's do some Q&A. Hold on one second. Let me take this out of focus mode. Hold on, y'all. Hold on one second.